Hello, dear viewers, and welcome to a new edition of Money Beans Business. This is Mohammed Abdurrahim, and tonight we'll be talking about the food security measures that are taking place here in Egypt. This very important file, the agricultural policies in Egypt, the agricultural and irrigation policies in Egypt, and the food security policies here in the country. That will be our main topic for tonight. A short break, dear viewers, and when we come back, we'll be introducing you to our distinguished guests and start our discussion. Please stay with us. Welcome back, dear viewers. And with us now in the studio is Engineer Mostafa Naggary. He is chairman of the Agricultural and Irrigation Committee in the Egyptian Businessmen Association. He's also the deputy chairman of the Egyptian Exporters Association and a board member of the Supreme Committee for Food Commodities here in Egypt. Very good evening to you, Engineer Naggary. A pleasure having you with us.
Thank you for the invitation, and it's a pleasure that, as I say, to end year 2023 by celebrations and congratulations to all Christians of the world and the Egyptian Christians for the Christmas for everybody. So I'm happy to have this interview on the last week of the year.
Thank you, sir, very much. It's a pleasure to have you with us. A very important topic that we are discussing here tonight. Of course, Merry Christmas to all Egyptians and all Christians across the world. And may God bring peace to our region and save the lives of innocent civilians, women, men, and children in Palestine, in occupied Palestine, facing the barbaric aggression by the Israeli occupation. Engineer Naggary, food security is such an important topic, especially at a time when inflation globally has hit food commodities more than anything else, and especially in developing countries due to the Russia-Ukraine war, and prior to that, the coronavirus pandemic and other developments. What are the key parameters of the food security measures that are being implemented here in Egypt to keep the situation at bay and stable, as it has always been?
Yeah. As we all know that I will start to talk globally, that the population of the whole world will be 9 billion by 2050. And as studies which is done at the time being, that the whole world have to increase the production of food by 70% of what we have now. So, and this is the challenge. On the other side, we have, as you mentioned, devaluation and inflation and climate changes and increase of hunger everywhere. So you have to do a lot of work while you are facing a lot of challenges. And this is what we are all talking about, the food security or the food safety in general. Egypt is not away from what is happening, because Egypt is considered to be a big player in the area and also in the region, as we are exporter of fruits and vegetables, but also we are one of the main importers of grains. So we are always on a way to try to evaluate year by year what is we are doing and how we can improve our inputs in the global trade, especially for food. So we have been focusing since 2013, when His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi had the first presidential round, and he was focusing on how we should increase our area, agriculture area. So there was continuous plans of
Land
reclamation and trying to have big mega projects, which costed a lot, because reclamation of land in the desert, it costs tremendous money, because you have to supply water, you have to establish roads, you have to supply electricity, you have to deliver community at the end. You have to attract the people to come and to live. And with agriculture, only you cannot build a community, but you have to link the agriculture to
the
industries
industry, yeah,
and to supportive activities. And this costs too much.
But of course, it's going to live with us. We're going to bear the fruit of this, because infrastructure projects, whenever they are, the mega projects, whenever they're being implemented, they will serve generations and generations
for sure.
to come. For sure.
And that's why this was a plan, and it is continuously, year by year, we see that there is addition of about 500,000 acres year by year. And this is trying to close the gap between imports of the grains mainly. So that's why we see that Egypt is trying to work into, or to move into channels. One channel is for investors who are keen, of course, to gain money, and they are trying to plant commodities which will have higher value through exports. And the state itself is trying to plant crops, strategic crops, such as wheat or sugar beet or corn or whatever, which Egypt is a big importer for the last 20 years. And the demand is always there, because it is linked to industries for poultry or for fisheries
Right.
farms or.
Right.
So you have always to move in
Balance.
these two channels, and this is a big challenge. So if we talk about exports, of course, Egypt have been successfully for the last 5 or 6 years benefiting from several aspects, such as low cost of power, low cost of labors. Of course, I'm comparing with what is happening in Europe. You mentioned something about the Russian-Ukrainian war, and which caused high prices in the oil and the gas, and lack of supply to Europe. So at the end, Europe, which is considered to be a garden for itself and the whole world, they are now losing the competitiveness according to the high inputs and the high cost of the agriculture process in general.
Right.
While in Egypt, we have a better chance. That's why exports from Egypt to several areas, mainly European Union and the Gulf area, and Russia and China, and also other parts in the global, is increasing year by year.
Mind you, of course, that a weaker currency is good for exports, right? I mean, exports are good with a weaker currency.
Of course, from a general view, we can say yes. But on the other side, inputs are increasing on the other side.
Right.
But at the end, we are comparing the competitiveness always. We are not comparing, at the end, we are comparing the cost of inputs. And this is the correct equation to evaluate yourself and to see the real view of your exports. So we are still discussing, I mean, because we have a data, and the data is correct, or we can say 95% correct. But to evaluate the data is much more important than to have the data. So we are always saying that if we export about 6 million tons of vegetables and the fruits, so we are, the whole world is looking for Egypt as a vegetable and the fruit exporter. We are not grain exporter. We are not grain exporter, but we are on this level. So you always have to compare yourself with similar countries. So my concern is that our export unit of the vegetable and the fruit in Egypt is still very low compared with our neighbors, such as Spain or Italy or Morocco or Turkey or Greece. We are still lower, and we have to
So we need to export more.
Not more. We have to look for other varieties which is having higher value. We have did a very good job in the citrus. We have did a very good job in the potato, in the onion, despite the export ban lately, according to disturbance between the domestic market and the international demand.
The discrepancy in price.
Yeah,
yes.
but at the end, Egypt is representing a big body in the exports of these items, in potato, in citrus, in onion.
We have a global ranking.
Of course, we are #1 in the citrus, in the table citrus, #1 by far. And maybe we were talking before the interview about that I was living in Holland. At that time, I was also focusing the exports of citrus. Egypt was not on the map at all at that time.
You focused
74.
on citrus because you were in Holland?
Yes.
Because they are orange?
Yeah,
because
no,
Holland
and
is
they
known
are
for
really
the color orange.
Yeah,
of course.
they call it
they're
Orania.
famous-
Yeah,
of course.
correct.
They're a famous football team.
But
and
now,
in the flag itself, in the national anthem.
and many countries such as Israel or Morocco, they were in the top 5 at that time. But now the map is changing. So Egypt is #1, Spain is #2. You can find Morocco with 200,000 tons exports every year,
So
and Israel is not anymore there.
So agricultural personnel should follow the model of what the success model of the story of citrus in Egypt.
We always have to.
So why did we succeed so much with citrus, but not maybe with other?
That's why we are talking about that we have to expand the map of our exports. and we have to look for other varieties. And this is a role between the government and the UPOF, the Union of Producers for the Varieties Royalty. So this is, it's not an easy job, because the people who implemented the varieties, it's a very high risk and very profitable business. So they have a union, and they have to sign with each country a protocol, and Egypt lately have signed that. So these varieties is allowed to enter Egypt at the time being. So you can see several items of flowers, several items of tomatoes, varieties, several varieties. It's not only the varieties which we see or we export, but there is hundreds of varieties which can adapt the environment of your soil and of your country. So in some varieties of tomato can produce 60 tons in open field, while what we are doing at the time being is hardly giving 30 to 35 tons.
Only half of what we can
Half.
do.
So that's why we have, it's a technology. It's working in agriculture at the time being is not just to irrigate water and to try to spread the seeds. No. What type of seeds you are going to use? What is the type of your soil? And what is the temperature? And that's why everybody is now moving towards the smart farming, which depends on the satellites and the sensors, which you put in the soil and you put in the leaves, and you can always trace the environment. So at the end, you are giving a very useful instruction for the farmer to improve his productivity and to reduce his inputs from the pesticides and from the chemicals and the fertilizers and even water, which is the main concern for Egypt at the time being. So
at a time of dispute with Ethiopia with the Nile River waters.
So that's why always we can see that last week there was a meeting between the Minister of Agriculture with the IFAD, the IFAD, which is International Fund for Agricultural Development, and it was very useful because we have been in Egypt linked to several international entities and bodies which is caring about the food safety all over the world and the food security. And they are really trying to do a very good job in adapting the environment of the desert in Egypt with the culture of the Bedouins, which is, of course, spreaded everywhere in the desert, to try to link them to the new technology methods and try to help the community of the Bedouins to increase their ability to improve the productivity until it comes to production that you can export, so you will get a higher value.
Right.
So the community will be better at the end.
Right. Engineer Naggary, if we export some of the key commodities that we have in vegetables and fruits, for instance, what happens is we don't have enough sufficiency here, so the prices increase very much. So how do we make that equilibrium between benefiting from the exports while also keeping ourselves self-sufficient, so as not to see a rise in some fruits or vegetables like we saw in onion, for instance?
Of course, we all have seen what happened in the onion crop of 2023. And this is what I was analyzing, that the data was not correct. We had earlier data that Egypt is planting about 200,000 tons of onion, and the productivity is about 12 to 13 tons per acre. And this was not correct. The data was not correct. On the other side, 1 year before, the price of the onion was very low. And automatically, when the farmer start to plant a crop with a higher price, he will pay a very good attention and he will take a very good care, so the productivity will be better and good, much better, okay? Bigger and better. But if he's planting on a crop after a year that the crop is having low prices, he will not pay the proper caring, if we can say, and at the end, this was the year 2023. On the other side, there was a short in the production everywhere according to the climate change. So we can see that India, which is the bigger producer of onion in the whole world, 26 million tons of onion every year. And China, the second bigger producer, 24 million. Both of them, they have short. And according to that, the prices in their local market increased and they stopped exporting. So most of the world, it came to Egypt because we are the third biggest producer of onion. And
how many million tons do we
we are about 3.5.
Okay.
So there is a very big gap between number 1 and 2 because they have a bigger land,
of course,
and a bigger population. So
at least 10 times bigger. Yeah.
But we are number 3 and USA is number 4. So Egypt is a big player in the onion. So most of the importing countries, they came towards Egypt because we are well located in the center of the global, and the cost of freight and
so
transport.
So there's an explanation for everything. So you just gave us a very good logical explanation.
Yeah, and with the devaluation of the currency, with our high competitiveness, as we mentioned.
But since you are, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you're also the board member of the Supreme Committee for Food Commodities.
Correct.
And one of them is sugar. So could you explain to us what happened in sugar, in the sugar market? Because, I mean, we have a lot of factories here in Egypt. Of course, prices have come down. Now they have come down. But they stayed up for a while. So any explanation?
There was one problem. I'm quite clear to say that there was a problem at the beginning of the, you know that we take the sugar from 2 crops, the sugar cane and the sugar beet, okay? We start to harvest the sugar cane in January. And we start to harvest the sugar beet on end of February and March, okay? So, at that time, Ministry of Food Supply, they said a limit, a time, a deadline to receive the sugar beet, which is consisting about 75% of the sugar production in Egypt. And they said a date.
A deadline, yes.
Yeah, he said that I will not receive the sugar beets before this date. No, before. Sorry, that. Yeah. And of course, the farmers, according to the climate change, and according to the plans of the farmers themselves, they wanted to plant earlier, to try to give a time and to plant rice after. So they have their strategy, which must be respected. This is not their crop, as I say. This is the crop of Egypt. I always say, the crop of any farmer is a crop for the country.
Right.
And we have to benefit all from it.
Right.
So a part of the sugar beet was not received and it was destroyed. And after that, we saw that the price globally is increasing in the sugar. This is something outside Egypt. Correct. But of course it's affecting Egypt because we don't have 100% sufficiency. No, we have
80, 90?
85%, if we can say, or from 80 to 85%. So at that time, Egypt had to import. And this was really, I felt that this was a big mistake. And we are just sending alerts through the committee that no even one fruit of the sugar beet to be left.
Okay.
We should set.
So we shouldn't expect this to happen again in 2024?
I don't believe, because the prices of the sugar globally started to decrease, and I expected that first quarter, which is showing in the commodity holds the stake, it's showing decrease of about 17%.
Okay.
So globally the prices will decrease, and our production, thanks God, is getting better. And according to the mega projects, new areas of sugar beet were planted. So I think that the gap for 2024 will be lower, and the price of the sugar will come to the normal level, which we say.
What about wheat and grains in general? Is the plan to produce more here at home? What is the plan that you...
Egypt have a strategy since many years that they plant a part of their demand, because we cannot plant all our demand, because the government is paying to the farmer higher than the international price to try to support him and to attract him to plant the wheat. So Egypt needs about 1.2 million tons of wheat every month. Out of which about 750,000 tons of wheat have to be milled for the bread of 5 piastre of the food aid program. Every month, 750,000 tons of wheat. And the private sector is consuming about 400,000 tons of wheat, which we call it the 72% of 75% extraction, which give you, the French bread and biscuits and the pasta and all this and the sweets and so on. So, and this is the whole equation of Egypt, which is well known and everybody know in the whole world. We are planting about 3.5 million acres, which is giving productivity of 9 million tons. So at the end there is a gap of about 10 million tons. And this is imported. And we have faced a lot of problems according to the Russian war to Ukraine. And the supply chain was a bit tough,
disrupted,
and the prices were dramatically high. But at the time being, the prices are decreasing. We are seeing at the time being levels which was before the war, very low levels. So at the time being, we think that we are secured, thanks God that we are using the Black Sea, not the Red Sea at the time being with the crisis of Hussein. But at the end, we are in safe for the wheat, the sugar.
Very good.
Yeah. We are
what about the situation with the meat and poultry market?
Of course, it's still we are still struggling, because we depend on the productivity and the production of both on the animal feed, and the animal feed is mainly imported. Egypt animal feed consists from corn and soybean seeds. So Egypt is trying to increase the production of corn and trying to have crop agreement with the farmers for the corn. Until this moment is still not
We're working
successfully.
On it?
We started already, but there is some problems, because the corn needs dryers and spreaders, and you have to be careful about the humidity, because it will turn into aflatoxins. So that's why the main consumer of the corn is the Union of Poultry Producers, and he's much more safe to import. But of course, if he would like the good mechanism locally, of course he would like to get the corn from the Egyptian farmer. But it's still the mechanism is not working properly from my point of view. But Egypt is trying to increase the production of corn. For soya, there is trials because we are not a soya producer. Egypt have never been a soya producer, just trials. But I have heard some success stories about producers who have got good production.
Okay, the situation I believe is much better in the fish market, in the fisheries?
In the fishery, we are also trying to increase through the fisheries and the new varieties and so on, but also it depends about animal feed at the end, and you have to depend on some of the rice byproducts.
I'm asking again these questions because you are a board member of the Supreme Committee for Food Commodities. So what about the edible oils? What's the situation?
Egypt is an importer of about 90% of our demand. But, and we have seen such high prices of the oil, of the edible oil, during the crisis of the Russian war to Ukraine, and some of the countries banned exports of oil, so prices of oil reached very high levels.
But they have come down since.
At the time being, they are recovering. I mean, Egypt depends mainly on the heavy edible oils, which is the soya and palm oil, mainly. And then it comes the sunflower and the corn. Sunflower was very high, according to Ukraine, is the main producer or the biggest producer, and there was some export banned by the Russians. But at the end, you know, there was political agreements to allow food trade, and that's why prices of the sunflower dropped dramatically for the last 3-4 months. So we are, of course, Egypt is not a small country, and we don't have enough water, but the input which is coming from what we see from the mega projects, and I see the farmers at the time being is much more happier with high prices of the commodities, which we should try to stop the bargain about high prices of food, and because at the end the farmer is our green soldier in the war of the food, the lack of the food. He's our green soldier. We have to protect that, and we have always to make strategies to take the price of the commodities from the farmer with a good price to keep him continue. And the government should subsidize the prices for the consumer. But we don't have to leave both of them in front of each other and try to indict many people that they are manipulating or no. It is government should play their role. They are a moderator, they are regulator for the process, and I cannot work only for one part of the whole chain.
Right.
I have always to put the whole chain in front of me.
You keep the farmer satisfied, and you subsidize whatever you can.
The full
for
circle
the
should be
customer.
healthy, as we say. It's a healthy trade or healthy activity. This is our message to the new government, which will come with our Excellency President Fattah Sisi, which of course we express that most of the Egyptians have showed to everybody here inside and
historic turnout in the elections.
Yeah, of course, we are happy for the results and for the participation of the Egyptians as well.
Right, it definitely showed that you know, Egyptians are responsible and know that there are a lot of challenges ahead. Of course, and these challenges need strong and wise leadership. Land reclamation will continue, more and more land reclamation, more and more of the mega projects, and we'll try to do the equilibrium between keeping the local market satisfied and benefiting from the export market. Right. I'm taking from your words. And keeping the farmer satisfied while the government subsidizing the commodities for the citizen.
Yeah. I want to just add that, as we mentioned, that to establish new communities and to try to change the map of the population of Egypt and the allocation of them, you have always to try to encourage investments. And to try to attract the investments, you have to stabilize the economy at the first stage. And you have to give a message of attraction, because we always say that many countries can attract the investor. But the investor at the time being is, as we call, the hot money and the floating money. They want to move very fast. So to try to have a good investment, you have also to give an easy depart for the investor. Because the investor, if he will feel that he will come and he cannot go out, he will never come. So this is the equation that which we also have to give to the new government, that easy birth with easy departure. They will come. So at the end, we feel that we are having a lot of, if we can say, chances for everybody to come to Egypt. We are very well located. We have a very good roads map at the moment. We have many of the ports which is improving their skills, and we are linked with several trade agreements with more than about 2 billion inhabitants in the whole world, according to our agreements with the Africans, according to our agreements with the European Union, according to our agreements with the Euro-Asians, the Russians and the Armenians and the Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and we have also with Arab League agreements. So we are, and with the Mercosur in Latin America. So at the end, Egypt,
we are the center of the world, after all.
We are in the center. We are
okay.
linked to the BRICS at the end. We are trying to find always ways to benefit from our historical trade relations since centuries. At the end, I believe that
we are the gate to and from.
Of course.
Africa.
Europeans
and the
are
Arab
considering
world.
Egypt is the gate to Africa, really, and they know that according to what we always see when we join exhibitions in Europe, or when they come, they always say Egypt is a big hub, and they consider Egypt is a backbone for Europe at the end.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying this discussion,
It's a
Engineer
pleasure.
Naggary, but unfortunately our time is up. So we thank you very much for being with us, and we wish you a happy 2024 as we wind down 2023. And we thank you, dear viewers, for watching us. On behalf of you, we thank very much our distinguished guest, Engineer Mostafa Naggary, the Chairman of the Agricultural and Irrigation Committee in the Egyptian Businessmen Association, the Deputy Chairman of the Egyptian Exporters Association, and the Board Member of the Supreme Committee for Food Commodities here in Egypt. It's been a pleasure, sir. Thank you very much.
It was a pleasure, and Happy New Year to all Egyptians.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching us, dear viewers. This is Mohammed Abdelrahim, and this is Goodbye.